Good evening, everyone. We will now begin the evening service of the Miroku Association headquarters, expressing our gratitude to God and Meishu-sama for blessings and protection received while participating in the construction of paradise on earth. Amatsu-Norito and Miroku prayer, please stand. Taka amahara ni kamsumarimasu. Kamurogi kamurogi no mikoto mochite sumoya kamu izana ino mikoto tsukushi no ibuka no tachi hana no odo no ahagi haragi misogi haragi Tamo toki ni arimaseru harai no kami tachi moro moro no maga goto tsumi kegare o harai tamae kiyome tamae tomao tsukoto no yoshi o amatsu kami kunitsu kami yao yorozu no kami tachi tomo Ame no fuchi koma no mimi uritate te kikoshi neseto rashigomi no maosu Miroku o mikami mahori tamae saki ae tamae Miroku o mikami mahori tamae saki ae tamae Oshie miyoya nushi no kami mahori tamae saki ae tamae Oshie miyoya nushi no kami mahori tamae saki ae tamae Kon nagara tamachi haemase. Kon nagara tamachi haemase. Great God of light, creator and giver of all life, in accordance with your divine will, the long age of night draws to an end. Your radiant divine light, shining ever more brilliantly, awakens the dawn of the glorious age of light, a time long awaited by all humanity. We thank you for guiding us to your divine plan and for the privilege of channeling and receiving Johrei. May our spirits and bodies be illuminated and purified as we live your truth given to us by Meishu-sama. Make us pure and effective instruments of your divine light, so that we may serve you and all those with whom we come in contact. May paradise on earth be realized with health, peace, and prosperity, a reality in our lives. May God of light bless and protect us. Radiate our souls with your divine light, so that we may truly become instruments of your great plan. Please be seated. We will now receive Group Johrei. Johrei is now concluded. We will now listen to a reading from Meishu-sama's teachings. The light of wisdom. Let us walk the dark path safely and serenely, guided by God's teachings, leaning upon the staff of love. In the age of light, those who show true wisdom and who radiate great love will gain their rightful place in this world. Faith brings true wisdom and develops one's awareness. Only through wisdom can we appreciate the boundless blessings of God. Positive wisdom based on love of God is deep and firmly rooted. Negative wisdom or tuning based on love of self is shallow and weak. Only true wisdom can produce real success and lasting happiness, and the stronger someone's faith and devotion are, the deeper that person's wisdom becomes. Even learned individuals often find it necessary to struggle to produce an answer to the simplest kind of problem. Their inability to clarify their thoughts and ideas in a constructive way shows how clouded their minds must be, and thus how lacking they are in true wisdom. Also, many in authority are often short-sighted, thinking only of the present and dealing with problems only after they arise, a measure that is quite ineffective.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this evening service of the Miroku Association. When I think about wisdom, one reverend comes to my mind, which is Reverend Tetsu Watanabe, passed away in 2013, which I had the honor and privilege to meet a couple of times. And Reverend Watanabe was trained in great part by his father, who was a great disciple of Meishu-sama, Reverend Katsuichi Watanabe, who wrote his memoirs called 100 Stories of My Faith. There are some passages that inspired me, and I would like to relate to some of them. When he was a merchant, was a very successful merchant before becoming a member. He had several grocery stores selling mostly vegetables, and in the process of having so many places, he had employees, and some were young, and some of these places had a dormitory. So there was this passage where one of these young fellows, one of the employees, was behaving erratically, and the others were quite upset because he was sleeping late, was lazy at work, until one point he was pretending that he was sick. So the others were furious because they could see that he was not being true. But Reverend Katsuichi, at the time he was not a minister yet, but had that kind of wisdom. And instead of reprimanding this employee, he told the others, "Oh, just feed him the morning lunch and dinner." So they did this for a couple of times, but they first, "Are you serious?" For sure he's pretending, but he didn't say a thing. So after doing this for a couple of times, so the fellow himself kind of came back to to life, and then in one morning, we woke up early. Okay, I'm ready to work. What is the task? So the others were quite surprised that no words were spoken, but the positive result came to light. Another example was when he uh, found that he thought his name was too good to be true. His name Katsuichi, like a beginning of victory, of one to win, kind of a rough translation. But since childhood, he was never the first in anything, in sports, or so he felt, well, maybe this name is not good. And he heard that Meishu-sama would change a person's name upon request if the name had some not positive fate towards surrounding the name, then Meishu-sama would suggest a different name. So he submitted the names of his children and his own. And Meishu-sama wrote a reply. He received the reply and saw that there was a change in the name of his daughter. But when he read his name, he was so disappointed because there was no change. And then he kept reading what Meishu-sama wrote, Katsuichi. That's exactly his name. So he meditated upon it. Katsuichi. Why Meishu-sama didn't change my name? He was so hopeful that that would be a change. And by meditating, then the words started kind of bouncing almost in front of him. Because Katsuichi, he started changing the phonemes. Tsukaichi, Ichi, Katsu. And then he found out, oh, Tsuchikai, inside my name, by changing the letters, there is this meaning of cultivate, to grow. And since before becoming a minister, so he was involved in selling, vegetables. He came from a farming area, Gifu Prefecture in Japan. And Meishu-sama was already talking about nature farming. So he realized his name was related to this mission. In fact, he even became the head of this nature farming movement once in his ministry. So it was a wonderful teaching, a silent teaching that Meishu-sama gave to him. And there were two more passages I would like to share, also with the Reverend Katsuichi. One, he was giving Johrei to his superior, his master, which was Reverend Shibui, also one of the great disciples of Meishu-sama. Reverend Shibui was undergoing a severe purification, eczema kind of skin purification, so had fever, was bedridden, and Reverend Katsuichi was there giving him Johrei, and was sitting Japanese style on his knees while giving him Johrei. And then Reverend Katsuichi, Reverend Shibui pointed to one of Meishu-sama's calligraphies that was hanging in the wall and started saying, "Look, Katsuichi, what beautiful calligraphy." Yes, Reverend, for sure. And then a few minutes later, how wonderful this calligraphy is. Yes, it is. Oh, what a power this calligraphy carries. Oh, yes, must be. So this was going on and on and on for 4 hours. And his legs started getting numb for sitting over there. And he was thinking, well, with this high fever, probably Reverend Shibui has some hallucinations because keeping repeating the same thing. So why? And then he starts, why he keeps repeating the same thing about the Meishu-sama's calligraphy? Until it dawned on him, he realized, I got the point. Reverend Shibui don't worry, I will make sure every member will receive Meishu-sama's calligraphy. I will do my best to have them in their homes. And oh, really? Oh, good. So, okay, you can go now. So it was this kind of silent message, very interesting. Probably very oriental style, but that's very deep, right? Sometimes words cannot penetrate the soul. Something else must uh, be surrounding, the intention. The intention is to teach. And a final example I would like to give from Reverend Katsuichi was with his own son, Reverend Tatsu Watanabe. When Tetsu Watanabe just turned into a drinking age in Japan, so he found out there was this American style bar where artists would gather to talk about art, which he was very interested. Reverend Tetsu Watanabe was very skilled in calligraphy, so he wanted to meet these people. And also they were talking about social issues. So there were very interesting talks. So he started going to these bars. And uh, because of the frequency in which he went, the owner offered him, oh, why don't you become the bartender? So you can help me and you can have some drinks for free. So it was a good deal for him. But with that, so he was getting late, past midnight, so many days, and caused a concern to the family. So his father, Reverend Katsuichi, so was concerned like everybody else, but he didn't say a thing until one night. So he was waiting outside. They had a garden, so he was there in the veranda, kind of thing, waiting for Reverend Tetsu to come. And he came home. You are late. You must be tired. Look, I I had the wood prepared to burn it and have this warm bath for you, so you can relax, have this bath, and go to sleep. So Reverend Tetsuo was waiting, expecting for his father to scold him. But instead, so he did in that spirit of serving and to teach by example. And that worked because once he went to the ofuro, the hot bath, over there he started reflecting, started crying and crying and crying, oh, what I'm doing with my life, right? Or so that's the kind of silent message that formed a foundation for him to become the great reverend he was. So those are words of wisdom. Teaching today is the light of wisdom. So we understand in our Johrei movement that we can acquire wisdom by reading Meishu-sama's teachings over and over and over, and by serving others. When we seek to serve others, pay attention to the other's needs, that is helpful for us to acquire wisdom. So those are things that I want to share with you, but I also want to share this faith experience that was shared today in Brazil from Mauro Matera. He's from the Meyer Johrei Center in which I have a nephew over there in Rio. Mauro is a public school teacher, and although he had a steady job and salary, he couldn't keep his finances in balance. Spending was without control. His bank account was always in the red at the end of the month, and with that, had accumulated debts. The relationship with his wife went from bad to worse, with many conflicts and resentments. Mauro felt like he was at a dead end. Then around February 2018, while talking to a friend who is a Johrei member, he told her that he was distressed, with a very tight feeling in his chest, and that he didn't know what to do. She advised him to look for our church. That same week, Mauro visited Johrei Center near his home, It was very well received. Upon receiving the first Johrei, he felt at peace. He felt a peace he had never experienced before. Mauro began to visit the center very regularly and be assisted by a missionary who gave him great encouragement. As Mauro came into contact with Johrei and Meishu-sama's teachings, he learned the importance of being helpful to others and taking care of our ancestors. Naturally, he began to be concerned not only about himself, but also about people who need help to alleviate their suffering. Thus, with the desire to serve through the channeling of Johrei, he took the membership classes and was blessed to receive the sacred focal point of Hikari in June of 2018. Since then, he practiced the following: Johrei in the center and at home, Mitama Migaki, which is the dedication to cleaning as a soul polishing, home gardening, contact with art and beauty through flower arrangements, and study of Meishu-sama's teachings. All of these practices have become part of his life. Mauro had the opportunity to volunteer to a Johrei Center's activity called Young Children Training Program, in which he developed playful activities that introduce children to the concepts of altruism, kindness, courtesy, goodness, beauty, among other values. Excuse me. As an educator, this dedication brought him great satisfaction and joy. Little by little, Mauro came to understand that God is in charge of everything, and that sufferings are important purifying actions for our growth and spiritual elevation. Thus, he learned to have a real feeling of gratitude for everything that happened to him. By constantly practicing the offering of monetary gratitude, Mauro began to value his salary more and manage his resources better. Consequently, he managed to rebalance himself financially, and after many years of suffering from debts, he started the year 2020 without any liabilities. With the arrival of the pandemic, Mauro continued to channel Johrei to his family, attended services online, and made flower arrangements for all the rooms in his home. These practices contributed to make family life harmonious and the environment at home much more pleasant. Living through these experiences, he learned that to change his fate, he needed to be ever more useful to God and to others in order to accumulate virtuous deeds and change his spiritual level, as well as that of his ancestors and family. With the aim of further qualifying himself to fulfill his mission, Mauro is now taking a course in spirituality as well as a course to teach membership classes in our Messianic College. Mauro is thankful to God and Meishu-sama for the blessings and protection received and for allowing him to become a useful instrument in the divine plan. It's a nice experience from Mauro Matera from Meyer, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Thank you very much for listening to these words. I wish you a wonderful evening, a wonderful weekend. Thank you very much.
This brings to a conclusion our evening service. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have a blessed evening.